I'm Vegas Runner here at the Pregame Studios, about to break down some boxing and MMA. Huge weekend ahead for fight fans. 4th of July weekend brings them out. We have a huge UFC 132 card here in Las Vegas. But first, the heavyweight championship title will be decided in Hamburg, Germany, between David Haye and Wladimir Klitschko, the younger of the Klitschko brothers. As it stands, Wladimir Klitschko is the longest reigning and the longest defending champion of the IBF, IBO, and WBO titles. His older brother Vitaly is the current WBC champ, and of course David Haye holds the WBA heavyweight title. He's only had 4 heavyweight fights, but he is a title holder, and this is more or less a unification bout. Today I'm being joined by Dustin. Those of you at the Pregame forums definitely know he writes a weekly column about boxing and also chimes in from time to time. One of the guys I talk to week in and week out before I go on air and break down boxing or MMA because of his knowledge and because of how much he follows the fights. So for this one, I want to make sure he joins me. As we go to air right now, the line sits anywhere between 175 and as high as maybe minus 220, 240 on Wladimir Klitschko. Obviously, the England books have Wladimir a lot lower, but I'd say more or less the consensus has Wladimir 2-1 favorite over David Haye. And as I said earlier and throughout Twitter, we do expect this line to drop. Unlike other sports, recreational fans of fights usually like to bet the dogs. So odds makers and bookmakers know this going in, and unlike other sports where they'll take that bettor's bias and shade the favorites, here they'll shade the underdogs. So let's get right to it, Dustin. Who do you like? Bottom line.
I like Klitschko. At first I was giving Haye a little more credit, seeing that he'd be a better opponent, but as I broke down the fight more and more, this is just going to be a runaway, man.
You think it's going to be an easy night for Klitschko?
Absolutely. It's going to be a very easy night. Manny Stewart has already went on record and said it's going to be a 4th round knockout, but I think he's being a little generous there, like always. But I definitely think it's going to be a runaway. Absolutely.
Really? Stewart claims that Haye is scared of Klitschko. And there's true animosity between these two. I mean, a lot of times with pre-fight hype, you know, HBO, Showtime, they love to have controversy because that sells pay-per-view, that sells tickets,
right.
And they need that. And fight fans don't like when two fighters like each other.
Right.
Nothing was more evident than when we saw Pacquiao and Mosley fight. And
right.
To this day, people are still discussing how they tapped gloves before every round.
Yeah.
And people were disgusted by that. With these two, although after the fight they may show sportsmanship and, you know, congratulate each other, they don't like each other at all.
No.
We've never seen a irate or angry Wladimir Klitschko. Do you think that's going to be positive or negative, though? I mean, this is a guy who has never fought on emotion. He's fought on sheer talent throughout his whole life. Mm-hmm. He's a technical fighter. You know, he's methodical as they come. Many more or less put a knock on him because he doesn't have that killer instinct, and he is willing to just stick out that left jab and cruise to a decision. Can he be in danger now that he's opening up and now that he's going to, you know, go in for the kill? Could that be a negative, you think?
You know, honestly, I don't see that happening at all. Vladimir's, he's been in the game too long. He's had too many big fights. You know, since his last loss, which is Lehman Brewster, in 2004, he's went 13-0 with 10 knockouts.
And he revenged that fight against Lehman
that's
Brewster.
Right. He destroyed him.
And I think I think the problem with Klitschko is this. I don't think that the heavyweight division has had any real, you know, problems for him. There hasn't been any fighter to challenge him.
Correct.
That's not his fault.
No.
I mean, it's not as if he's ducked opponents, or it's not as if he hasn't, you know, welcomed any challenge. There just hasn't been any heavyweight come along that's been able to challenge him in the last 5-6 years. And the fact that he's fought his last 6 fights over in Europe, you know, he doesn't have that U.S. fan base. I think that too many people remember the 2003-2004 Klitschko when he got knocked out twice in a 13-month span. This is a new fighter. Since Emmanuel Stewart took over, Klitschko has become more or less a totally different fighter. He's learned to use his size. He's learned to use his jab. He's learned to stay out of danger. And because of that, he's been able to break down fighters and then drop that thundering right hand. Personally, my followers know I love Klitschko in this one. I think there's a ton of betting value as high as -300. That's correct. I don't give Haye more than a 20% chance of winning this fight. And the true odds on the 20%, you have to give me plus 400 and higher for me to even consider taking it. So I really don't think you could look any way other than Klitschko. Personally, I've upgraded this to a 3-star best bet. This is actually one of the strongest fight picks I've had in a while since our last 3-star on Dos Santos. For me, it's simple. Haye talked himself into this fight. Let's tell it like it is. He called out Klitschko brothers. When he was the linear cruiserweight titleist, he held pretty much every title you could, every meaningful title, even the Ring Magazine title. And there was no one to fight at cruiserweight. He's not going to get a payday at cruiserweight. So the only thing you could do is go up in weight like they do in MMA, like they do in boxing. You know, you want to go up in weight. With that said, after he called out the Klitschko brothers, showed up with their heads on the T-shirt, he had his chance to fight. He backed out.
Twice.
Claims it was an injury. Klitschko to this day says, I didn't see any medical report.
No one has. No one has.
And we're hearing Emmanuel Stewart say you can see fear in his eyes. And the day of reckoning is coming. A lot of fighters have stepped up and give Haye a shot. I mean, because the guy does have a punch. He's not the haymaker by accident. Both of these guys combined 4 losses between them. All 4 have come by knockout. So it's no surprise that when you look at the total rounds, it's floating anywhere from 7.5 to 9.5. That tells me that odds makers expect this fight to end in a knockout. When either guy's lost, it's happened by knockout. Do you think we're going to see a knockout in this fight?
Absolutely.
That's
I do
the only
believe
way
it.
it's going to go?
Now, here's the thing that I feel about this fight is that people are thinking that Wladimir only has a 1 and 2, a jab and a right. But people really forget that Manny worked with Wladimir many years to get a left hook. In his fight against Ray Austin, Wladimir Klitschko never threw his right hand. He knocked out Ray Austin with left punches in 2 rounds and a left hook predominantly. That's where I think this fight is going to happen because Haye is not looking for a left hook. You don't expect a man as big as Wladimir to have a legitimate hard left hook, and he does.
We both were discussing earlier the weigh-in. The weigh-in just happened not long ago. Haye came in 212. I thought he was going to come in underweight in this fight. I wrote in my article that when you look at his past fights against John Ruiz, he did the same thing.
Right.
He came in light and he wanted to use, that speed. He did that with Valuez.
Right.
Against Monty Barrett, he used size. He knew I could knock this guy out, so he used power. It looks to me like even he doesn't think he's going to knock out Klitschko. And he believes that he's going to use his speed and possibly catch him. But I think by coming in at 212, he thinks he's going to be able to outbox him. Technically, do you think he has any chance of doing that with his speed?
No, not at all. Because Haye is a quick fighter, for sure. But the thing that with Haye, he doesn't throw punches in bunches.
Yeah, he's not a busy guy.
No, not by all means. He's a one and done kind of guy. Gets in, throws his punch, one punch, and then he gets out, and then he resets and goes back in again. The other thing with David Haye's flaws, his footwork is average at best. He's going to get Wladimir Klitschko's footwork is very phenomenal. Manny Stewart actually said he thinks Klitschko's footwork is as good as Manny Pacquiao's. Now, I don't know if we put Klitschko down that small. But
right. But Emmanuel Stewart, too, is a guy of not many words, and when he speaks, you got to give it credit. And I agree with you. David Haye's only had 26 professional fights.
Right.
And we all know most boxers, the first 15 are tomato cans. They're all gimmies whenever you're building a reputation.
Right.
So I don't think he does have that experience. You're right. He's 30 years old. You pointed out earlier he plans on retiring.
Right.
If he wins.
Come October this year.
At the most, he may, if he wins this fight, try to unify the title and get a bigger payday by going after Vitaly.
Right.
Absolutely. Who wouldn't do that? But I don't think other than that there's much upside. I think looking at this as the politics of boxing, sure, here in the U.S., we want someone to challenge the Klitschko brothers. But with that said, I don't think they're bad champions, to be honest with you.
No, not at all.
They're willing to fight. I was a little worried that Wladimir hasn't fought now since September of 2010. Layoffs scare me. They really do. But with this fight, if anything, because he's so motivated to beat this guy,
yes.
I'm not worried. If it was a common opponent, you know, a guy he didn't care much, that layoff may worry me a little about laying heavy
Corey
price.
Sanders flashback.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, because he may get caught being having that ring rust. We've seen it time and time again. But I think the motivation factor you won't see any ring rust with him. Klitschko has been training in Austria, which I thought was a smart move because we know he's had a tendency in the past to gas late. So Manny took him up to Austria. More importantly, he brought in IBF cruiserweight champ Steve Cunningham to emulate Haye's style. On the flip side, Haye and his trainer Booth came to Miami to train. I know they wanted to get out of England and avoid distractions, but coming to America to train for a European fight, I don't see that as a positive.
No, it doesn't make sense why he would do that. Not only the time zone differences, but you're leaving one distraction for where he normally trains in England and coming to Miami to all new distractions, clubs, girls, you know. So
I agree, bro.
And Haye is not, you know, he's a looker. He likes to go out. He likes to be part of the nightlife. You know, that's his persona. You know,
I agree.
So
I think
don't
it was
trading
a bad
distraction
move
for another. So I don't know.
Bottom line, when Klitschko beat Bird the second time for the IBF title, there were 4 heavyweight champions. Since that time, he solidified himself as the very best in the heavyweight division. I think this fight is more hype than anything else.
Yeah.
I don't think David Haye poses much threat to Klitschko at all. I think as the fight progresses and he eats that left jab, if anything, his speed will be neutralized, his power will diminish, and if anything, his lack of activity is going to put him so far behind in the scorecards, he's going to have 1 of 2 options. Stay away and try to at least be standing at the sound of the bell, or open up and take a chance. And if he does that, this fight ends. Yeah. Myself, I'm stepping up and I'm willing to lay the vig, like I said. Maybe if you don't want to take a chance to lay vig and you're not a guy who's comfortable laying vig, look at Klitschko as a knockout. But again, me, it's all about value. And if I think the true line's closer to 400 and I could lay minus 200, I'm making that bet day in, day out. So I'm going to go ahead, give the nod, and upgrade Wladimir Klitschko to a 3-star best bet, 21-4, the last 25 premium plays in boxing and MMA. I will be breaking down UFC 132, where I have a handful of premium plays there as well. Closing thoughts. I know that we've heard that both Haye and Booth didn't want Genaro Rodriguez to ref this fight. That tells me they're looking at things that are meaningless. I mean, the third man in the ring, if anything, you don't want to get... I think they did that a little bit to maybe sway him, like saying we're looking out now, so maybe help us a little bit, because they knew he had already reffed Klitschko fights in the past and Klitschko was successful every time. So I think they used that to the advantage, but I think if anything it backfired, because now you're taking focus away from what Haye should be doing and putting his focus on things like Genaro Rodriguez, to me, which makes no sense. Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, you know, honestly, I don't think, like I said before, I thought this was going to be a closer fight when it first got announced, but as it came to be, no, this is going to be a blowout.
The more work you did, you can't. I like to try to make a case for the underdog.
I do too.
I'm conditioned to bet underdogs as a sharp bettor, and I just can't do it here. I can't make an argument. If you gave me plus 250 on Haye, plus 300, I couldn't take it.
I couldn't take it either. No,
okay.
I mean, it's just that Haye has never fought anybody. He's never fought anybody that in their prime.
15 straight wins,
you know,
but all in Europe.
Yeah, exactly. In European fighters, you know, I don't mean to discredit the Europeans. I got love for them.
Orthodox style, so he's not going to pose any new challenges.
There's no good European fighters that can put up against an American. You know, I consider Klitschko as more American-based because they fought here the most. You know, they fought bigger names over their careers, whereas Haye hasn't. So Haye's never been in a promotion this big, So
Klitschko handled Fast Eddie Chambers. He handled Chris Bird. He's going to handle the smaller guy here again. Vlad to outbox David Haye and to eventually drop the thunder and right and shut him up once and for all. I recommend a bet on Wladimir Klitschko, a 3-star best bet. Dustin agrees. Thank goodness. Like I said, I definitely respect his knowledge when it comes to the fight game. So I wanted to make sure before I upgraded it that we weren't going to have a confrontation here on film. And when I came in, you said nothing's changed. If anything, I like him more.
Yeah.
So enjoy the fight. Don't forget, they'll be showing it live at 4:30 p.m. Pacific time on HBO. Replay late at night. I'll be back with UFC 132.